you are literally responsible for your own future income, because a lot of companies are not even offering pensions. They're literally have you on your own. The main benefit of the retirement account is putting that money away for your future.
Said I will be magnificent, I will be better than I ever been. Yeah, I will amaze me. True to myself, they can't change me.
All right, well, welcome to another episode of Build a Better Business with the Floyds. All right, here we go. This is my partner,
Davion.
and I am Shavonna Floyd, and this is our show. We're so excited to have this conversation we're going to have with you today, because what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about how to build for retirement while you're building your business. Now, this is really important, okay, because we have seen, I always say we have seen, right?
Got a lot of experience.
Yeah, but it's true. You know, it's very true. Had the opportunity to work with a lot of people. So we have learned some of the best practices and common mistakes that is made. So we're sharing it with you so you can prevent those things and be able to flourish, thrive, right?
Yes, that's the goal.
You know what? I'm looking at us. I remember when we first got married, people always said that we look like brother and sister. And I'm looking, I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
I knew it was something in you that I like.
I don't know. I'm looking like, man, maybe, I don't know. I never thought about it. But I'm looking at us. I'm like, you look like, okay. That's my husband. He's not my brother. Okay. So, but it is so important to start building for retirement. I believe on our previous episode, we talked about planning your exit. That was one of the things that you need to plan for. But also, this is part of the planning as well when you're building your exit or planning for your exit, is planning for your retirement and what that's going to look like. Okay. So there's two ways you could plan for your retirement. Like, one way that a person can plan for their retirement is just simply by, if they have it could be the business, actually. Yeah. The business could be generating millions and millions and millions of dollars, and you can have, a set amount of income that's coming to you, every single year to take care of you for the rest of your life. That's one way, right?
Yeah, that is one way. Or you can go with, my plan was the long way. I did 21 years in the military in order to get, $5,000 a month. It was a way that, my retirement made money. But, there's better plans out there. And like I said before, people don't plan to fail. They fail to plan.
Right.
So, the best way to do it is, you want to pretty much, if you start as soon as possible, the earlier you start, the easier it is. If you start, saving a certain amount a month, for a certain amount of time, of course, you can have more versus waiting until I only got 5 years left, so I need to maximize everything. Mm-hmm. And I use one example, it's the rule of 72. The way that works is it's called compound interest. Mm-hmm. So whatever interest rate goes into 72, that's how long it takes your money to double. Mm-hmm. So if you have a 6% interest rate every 6 years, every 12 years, since it goes into 72 12 times, if you have a 6% interest rate every 12 years, that money will double without you adding nothing to it. Mm-hmm. But if you have a 12% interest rate, 12 goes into 72 6 times. Every 6 years, that money will double without you adding nothing to it. Right. So we want to talk to you about different things that you can do with your money in order to get certain types of interest rates.
Right. And then, it's always smart to invest your dollar. So one thing that I've learned is I really, truly believe it is a horrible idea to save for your future. Don't save money. Saving money means you're taking money and you're putting it in a savings account that is yielding you absolutely nothing. Or I think the last time I checked, it was like 0.0. I say 0.0 nothing. Even though it may be a 1 on the end of that, that's nothing. Because no matter how much money you put in there, you're only getting nothing, pretty much.
So go over that analogy that I just sent you. I just told you about the rule of 72, that 6% interest rate, 12% interest rate, and Google your bank and see what the annual interest rate is on your bank that you have right now.
Right. So saving money is a horrible idea, period. Why? Because your dollar is worth less. Every dollar you put in a bank account that is not keeping pace with inflation it is worth less. So you put that $1 in there, and if it's not keeping up with at least 3%, 4%, then your dollar's actually worth less. And so imagine, the cost of money that it's imagine how much money you're losing just by putting it in a bank account. So of course,
it becomes worthless.
It does. It's worth less, literally worth less than where we're at. So what you want to do is, when you're building for your retirement, while you're building your business, you want to look at some, different types of accounts. It depends. So if you are a solo entrepreneur and you start a business, just you, or maybe it's you and your spouse or your family, you can then start an account. You're eligible for an account that is called a solo 401k. All right. Solo 401k means that it's just you and you don't have any other employees other than, your spouse. And so you are eligible to open up that account, and you can be able to put money into that account every single month if you want to, and build an account. So if you have a good person that understands how you can be able to make sure that your money's invested in good funds that's going to grow your money at that 12%, then that will be great. Because listen, 12% compounding on your money for 10 years, you're going to double your account. So it would be wise, if you're able to max it out every year. So I think right now on a solo 401k, you have two ways that you can fund it. You can fund it as the employer and as the employee, and you can get a good $50,000, in a year in that account. So, if you don't have that much, if your business isn't generating that much, that's fine. But the point is it gives you that opportunity to do that. So you want to think about that, putting those dollars away, and that's something that we can absolutely help. If you really want more understanding about building for retirement and what that looks like, you can just visit our website at www.quickandEasyTaxes.com. Visit our website and then click on the retirement tab. We have a retirement tab, and you can schedule a consultation, and someone can surely help you with that, because that is really important out the gate. Because so many people,
especially people that need money to to sit away for taxes also, and retirement. So it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it is. It's really important. Oh yeah, and then on the tax side, that's actually another point too.
Yeah, good strategy.
Because also, what you can do is the money that you put into that 401k actually can be deducted from your business income. So let me give you an example. Let's say the business earned what? $100,000. $100,000. Yes, that's a good number. Round, right? Okay. It made $100,000, and let's say you put $25,000 in your solo 401k, right? If you put that $25,000 that's in your 401k actually now brings down your business income to $75,000. That's the amount that would be taxed, is that $75,000. And then of course, if you start adding other deductions on top of that, bring that income down, you're only going to be taxed on the net. So that's another benefit of having a retirement account. But the main benefit of the retirement account is putting that money away for your future. What's your thoughts? Yeah,
you want to retire, because I see a lot of times people, retire, or they say I'm retired. They've done 20, 30 years at a job, and they say, hey, I'm retired now. But then they still working another job. So that's not really retirement. If you got to get another job after you leave a job, that just means you have extra income coming in from your old job or your previous job. So retirement means that you're not working anymore. You just sit back and you have pretty much accumulated enough money, or put away enough money that is making you the same amount of money you was making while you was working.
Right. I actually usually recommend people to actually shoot for more income than what you were making, because the cost of living continues to increase. And so you want more. So like, let's say, for example, that you live off of $6,000 a month. Well, you don't want that to be your target goal in the future. You want your target goal to be maybe $10,000 a month. that you can live off of. Even though as you get older, your expenses should decrease. Like you shouldn't still have, well, it depends.
You shouldn't have a house.
Yeah, it depends on your strategy. You shouldn't have a house, especially after 30 years. But if you had a strategy where you paid it off sooner and, to pay it off in 15 years, but your expenses should decrease. Like you shouldn't have maybe a mortgage payment, maybe not a car note, maybe not so much consumer debts, that the only expenses that you're really, narrowing it down to would just be your normal regular, electricity, power, water, cable,
just the basics.
internet. Yeah, the basics. You still will have property taxes, insurance. So you'll have all of those, but you shouldn't have too much of the other things. But you still, because of gas and groceries and the cost of living still continues to go up, you want more than what you had to
while
live
you was
on.
working,
Yeah, and I know a lot of times what people do there, when I sit down with a client and we're talking about like financial planning, I always ask that question, like, how much money do you want in retirement? And so a lot of times they'll say this, they'll say, about what I'm making right now is good. Or they'd be like, well, I should have less expenses. So maybe they'll go a little less. Like if it was 6,000, they will say, I think I should be able to live off of 4,000, and so, but they're not seeing the bigger picture. That's why I kind of help explain so they can understand that you got to think, you don't go less. You actually want to go more. You always want to target for more, because at the end of the day, I'm sure when you're retired, you don't want to just be at home all the time, right?
Yeah, and I use for example, a lot of times in the military, you see people that get close to 20 years, 30 years, they're about to retire. And then they decide they want to, I'm not traveling anymore. I'm not getting sent all over the world. I want to have kids now. Kids can be expensive, whether you want to or not. Even just now, we just sent our daughter to pilot school, and that's a 6 figures right there. So, of course, that wasn't like something that we planned for 18 years ago when we was planning for retirement. But you want to have more just for things like that, the things that your kids want to do. You don't want to just set aside enough just for you if you got a family.
Right. A lot of times, and you find that quite often where parents are, helping their young adult children, right?
Yeah.
They're young adults, and the goal is when they become an adult, they are able, but in the beginning, they're not quite strong enough to take care of themselves quite yet. So that's something that you have to prepare for too. As you're putting away for your own future, you want to kind of think about that as well. Like, okay, making sure that I have some additional money set aside.
Emergency funds.
Yeah, some additional money that you set aside, but you want to make sure that you never touch that retirement account, okay? Because those penalties ain't no joke.
Oh man,
we learned the hard way. We learned the hard way. We call ourselves pulling some retirement money out to put it somewhere else, and the penalties plus the taxes you got to pay on that. So what you have to be aware of is if you take money from your retirement account, regardless of what it is, if it's a retirement account you have on your job, a retirement account that you created yourself for your business, if you take that money out before you're 59 and a half, you will be, one, penalized, and then two, you have to pay taxes on that money. That money actually adds to your income, and they tax you on the whole entire amount. So you have to be very, aware of that, because that's not fun.
And then the penalty can be like, 25%. What you take out. I use
It's
for
10%.
10%.
Yes, 10%.
But you had to look at the pretty much what tax bracket you're in. Like, let's say you're making 75,000 and you take out 25,000. Now your income for that year is 100,000. That amount you take out is added towards your income. So the same way that when you invest that money into your solo 401k, it goes away from your income. When you take that money away and add it to your income, it goes back the opposite way, and you're going to be taxed on that 100,000 now versus the 75,000.
That is correct. Absolutely, that is absolutely right. So let's just make sure, when you're preparing for this, you're thinking about all that. You're thinking about, because this is what I've seen happen is A lot of times people, they'll do the right thing in regards to funding for retirement, but then life happens, things come up, and then the first thing they do is they're like, oh, I got like $20,000 in my retirement account, or I got, 30,000 in my retirement account. I can just take that money from there. And I always say, no, no, no. Or they're like, oh, I can just borrow the money. Listen, let me explain. Because I get this a lot. Now, I'm telling you, I've worked with a lot of people, and it's the same stuff over and over. So I can borrow this money from at a 1% interest rate, and then I can put the money back, and it's like paying myself back with interest. That sounds so good.
It do.
It sounds really good, but that is not the truth. So the truth is when you take that money out. So just think about this, all right? And I hope I can make this. I'm gonna try my best to explain this. So let's say you have $20,000 in your retirement account, right? That you accumulated. And let's say that you take $10,000 out to pay a debt, a doctor bill, or, whatever, right? Now your retirement account is decreased. It took you maybe 5 years or however long to get it to that $20,000, right? Now, in literally a single day, you have cut all that work out down by 50%. Now, what's going to happen is that account is pretty much catching up. It's only going to compound on that 10,000 that's left in the account. So now if you're at a 12% rate, if you were getting 12% on 20,000, now you're only getting 12% on 10,000. So because half of it is gone, it would take forever. If you're just making payments back into it, you're pretty much just putting what you were originally putting in there back into that. And it would literally probably take you another 5 years just to catch up with the potential cost of money that you've lost from withdrawing it. So when they tell you that, they're obviously not a true financial person, because a true financial person would never tell you to take money from your 401k to pay off debt, especially unless you got a really smart investment that's going to make you way more money. Then maybe you can play around with that. But if you're just using it for personal things to pay off debt, because then you got to you don't have to pay taxes on that. You don't get penalized on that because it's a loan. That's the good part. But the time it took to build that and to rebuild that up again, you have basically paused that account for probably another 5 years.
And then if you're below the age of 59 and a half, then you got to take the consideration of that 10% that you got to pay. You just got to give away just for taking it out early.
Yeah. Yep. Anytime you take that money out, except for the loan. I mean, when you do it as a loan, you don't have to, there's no penalties or interest on that, except for the interest you have to pay, which people are so convinced I'm paying myself back. No. It's always better to start another account. You can do a regular, like mutual fund account of some sort, where you can do the same thing. You can save money into that, and that could be your emergency fund when things come up. You always need two accounts. So you need another account to protect your retirement account, because your retirement account is that long-term account for the future. We're not touching that. We're just letting that money build and compound and grow, and we just keep putting money in it consistently. I told you I had a client who made herself a multi-millionaire just by being consistent and stuffing away that money, stuffing, and just letting it compound and then double. And she had literally millions, sitting back, in these accounts when you treat them the right way. If you leave it alone and make sure you have money somewhere else besides the bank. Yeah. You can put it in the bank if you want to, but I don't recommend that. I think you need to put it somewhere. And you can do, because a lot of times folks are scared. I think what I've learned is investing is scary to some people.
Yeah, I use, for example, the military. I'm always talking about the military. I spent half my life there. They have funds called the G Fund. When you first do the TSP, they put you in the G Fund. And I was in the G Fund for like 10 plus years. And long story short, when I looked at my accounts, I put my other accounts into a more, strategic investment. And what happens is the G Fund made me 3%. I don't even think it was 3%.
Yeah, I think it was. It just kept pace with inflation, but sometimes it can go to 1, but it was like between 1 and 3%.
Yeah, it felt like a 1, because what happened is after 10 years, when I looked at the quarterly statement, I actually made $6,000 in one quarter. But out of that $6,000, the G fund only made me $300 compared to the other funds that was at, 10 and 15%. So, you can go the traditional route and, you can be safe because I was safe that I wasn't going to lose money in the G fund, but I was missing out on a lot of money that I could have gained if I would have kept everything in that other account. So when I saw that, I changed everything from the G fund into those more aggressive accounts.
Right. I would say this to anyone who is active duty military, whichever branch that you're serving in. If you are putting money away in your thrift savings plan, okay, I think they've changed it now, because when my husband was in, it used to be, like automatically when you started, if you don't allocate your funds yourself, which who's going to do that? Because most folks don't understand how to allocate funds and what that's about. So what they will do, as soon as you start the account and start putting money into it, they will automatically put you in the most conservative fund, which is the G fund, which is government bonds. Okay. And so basically what they have now, they have changed that. Now I think it goes into like an L fund.
Yeah.
And so automatically it'll start at an L fund, which is kind of a balance fund where, your money can actually do pretty decent in the L fund. And so that's not a bad thing if you don't understand what you're doing. But I want you to consider, especially if you're earlier in your career, look at some of the more aggressive options that's out there and just kind of play around with that and see. You just see the difference. Test it out for a quarter, or test it out for a year and see the difference, because the goal is you want to maximize the growth on that account, because that's for your future, and you want that thing to be like on steroids, making as much money as possible, and you'll be very pleased. By the time you get to the end of your career, you could have, several $100,000 in that account.
If you do it the right way, because I've seen some. I use, for example, when I first joined, we had a private, first of all, his income wasn't high, but he had this drop top BMW. So all of his money was going towards that BMW. He was so broke that he didn't even have money for gas sometimes. So of course he wasn't putting away money for retirement. So you see some people with all of this nice stuff while they're younger. Then when it gets time for them to retire, they spent all of their retirement money on the nice things. So they can't afford to go to, trips and, buy luxury cars at the retirement age. What they doing is they had to get another job versus, living a humble life, driving a nice car. I ain't saying you got to be in a Pinto or nothing like that, but you got a nice car to get you around, and you're not, flashing and spending all your retirement money. You're saving up that money through all these years so that you get to retirement age. Now you can go buy your nice, car, Mercedes-Benz or luxury car, and you got money to go on trips. That's the way it's supposed to be. So, work hard while you're younger. When you're older, then you should be relaxing and enjoying all the fruits of your labor.
And I would say on the business side, the beautiful thing about being in the military is if you retire from the military, you actually you do collect a retirement check. You collect a pension for the rest of your life, which is amazing. But the reason why, as a business owner, why it's really important for you to start building your own retirement is because you don't have that. If you're not, working for a company that even offers a pension, because a lot of companies are not even offering pensions. They're literally have you on your own. So, it's just like, what's the whole point? You working for them and you're making all this money, and then they don't even give you a pension. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, you are literally responsible for your own future income. Like, what is that going to look like? It's imperative that you start thinking about that. Who's going to take care of 60-year-old you? Where is the money going to come from? How much money is that going to be? And how many streams of income? You literally have to create that yourself. That's why, I know that that's why I really feel like it's really important to have a financial professional.
Yeah.
Period. To have those conversations and see what that look like. Because when you have a financial professional, if you have a really good one that can look at your situation and then tell you exactly what you need, help you create that plan, then you can really be strategic and you know exactly what to expect at the end. But otherwise, just
And you'd be surprised how many people put that burden on their kids. They just work, don't have any type of retirement, and then whenever it's time for them to stop working, the money stops coming in, but they still have a mortgage, they still have a house, a mortgage, they still have a car note, they still got bills, but they're at an older age where they can't work anymore. And then they put all of that burden on their kids, who now have their own family, and they're responsible for their own mortgage and car payment and all of that stuff. So now they're taking on a whole nother lifestyle that they wasn't prepared for.
you just opened up a whole
I know.
can of worms with that. You opened up something right there, because that's real, and that's real life. I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of us have experienced that, and I mean, if we can be honest, we kind of know that that's part of our reality. We have to. So the thing is, and so I had a interesting conversation with my mom once, and I thought this conversation actually was kind of an eye opener for both her and me. And so she's older now, and she was taking some classes. And one of the classes was a finance class. And one thing she shared with me, she was like, man, she's like, I didn't realize that I was supposed to put away money, not just for me, but for my children. She's like, I didn't know that. And so what we have to understand is there is a generation out there that may not have all of the, information that we have, or know the financial savvy. They don't know. And so because of what they don't know, it kind of falls, the responsibility falls to, the children. Yeah. And so, a lot of times we can't be mad, at our parents for what they don't know, because they only know what they know and they did the best they knew how, right? Yeah. And so because of that, now we have a generation, of seniors that will have to depend on the children for a lot of the financial responsibility, because they don't have $1 million in the retirement account that they can, live off of, or 2 million or pension. The only option that they're looking forward to is collecting Social Security. And obviously Social Security is not enough. Yeah. And so, you got to prepare for that. Even as you're preparing, when you're building that dream business of yours, you have to really, that's why we say you have to start with a plan, because you got to think about all of that. And I know it's a lot, but you got to think about it. You got to plan, you got to prepare, and you got to think about that.
And so that's why it's important to have a good financial advisor. They're going to give you things to talk about or think about in order to prepare you for that next goal you're trying to get to. It's almost like having a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. So if you like what we talked to you about, listen to it again. Share it with your friends, someone else that you think will, like to hear it or need it. Yeah. And we always say, listen to it, learn it, and apply it.
Yes. Because you have to have, if this is not your area of expertise, because I feel this is too important to allow it to go, to be handled kind of haphazardly. This is your future. This is this is the example that you're putting before your children. You want them to see, if you get this right, then, they have an even higher probability of doing even better, than you. That's usually what we tell our kids. That's our desire. We want them to do greater than us.
Yeah, then you don't want to put that burden on your kids, because your kids are trying to start their life off, build their family, get to that next level. And you don't want to be like, put a hamper on their goals. Like, imagine us trying to send our daughter to pilot school, but we can't do it because we got to take care of mom now.
And then, or, she can't do it because she can't do it on her own. Or she'll have, once she starts her career, right? When she starts her career and it's just a lot more easier on her and less, stress when we actually can help her out. And so she can be able to start her life with ease. And then she has that model already, in her mind frame that when she has children, that's just the way it goes. She don't even see it no other way. You're like literally kind of breaking that generational curse in a sense. You're breaking those things that, okay, this may be our situation, and this is our reality. We just have to deal with it. There's no way around it. You got to deal with it. But this doesn't have to be the reality for our children. We are so proud to tell our children, we tell them, I tell my son, you ain't gonna have to take care of your mom, but if you make it big, you can buy me a house. I said you can buy your mom a house if you want to.
and then vice versa. We're raising our kids in the way that they should go. So it does come a point that you have to stop taking care of your kids in order to plan for retirement. You have to, if you taking care of older, younger adult kids. How can I say older, younger adult? So adult kids.
Yeah.
If you're taking care of adult kids and you're not able to take care of yourself or build for retirement, it's going to be some things you're going to have to cut off in order to help you to set yourself up for that next level. You
can hurt your sometimes, we love our children just too much, and we give them a lot. I want to share this, right? So first day of school, our son, who is now 15, right? He is catching the school bus. So for many years, we have been driving him to school, right? And but we put him on a school bus. He's a sophomore now in high school, and we're like, listen, we're not gonna keep driving you, picking you up, and dropping you off, every day. You're gonna take the school bus. Of course, he doesn't like this idea, but now that we have kind of taken that responsibility off of our plate and just shifted it all to him, where he's now responsible. He gets getting himself up and getting to his bus and walking home, walking there, and his time management and all of that. I realized when we stop always feeling like we need to be there for them and do everything for them, they actually grow up.
Yeah.
And they become independent and they become stronger. And I'm actually so proud every time he gets up, like every day he's getting up, he getting himself dressed, he leaving on time, catching his bus, coming home, and, with no help from mom, like trying to make sure, oh, you need something to eat, you need this, well, let me take you here, hold on, we got to go, so, but that's just how it is when they become adults. Or when they're young adults, there may be some assistance initially that they might need help with just getting started. And I feel like that is our only, obligation that, that we could give to them is help them get started with their life. But then it comes a point where you are going to have to say, okay, now you're going to have to figure this out on your own. We can't always be there, and bail you out of every situation, because if you do that, what's going to happen if you're building something, like you're building a future, for yourself, and then you have enough where you left over where you're actually leaving something to your children. What's going to happen is if you did not train them up where they have become strong on their own and they have know how to figure out things on their own, what's going to happen is whatever you leave them will be blown through super fast. Like
if they can't make it to, get up in the morning and make it to a bus stop on time and get ready, then most likely they're not going to be able to make it to a job on time.
Yeah.
So it's like you're building things now that's going to help them for their future.
Yeah.
But if you're taking them to school every day, they're just waking up, showing up late every day, most likely they're going to be waiting on you to pick them up and take them to that job. And they're waiting on you to making sure you calling them like, hey, you up? Are you ready? You know what time you got to be to work? When they're 25 years old, and that's not the way life is supposed to be.
Yeah. And you can even start sooner too. I mean, I told you he's 15. You can start much sooner. Yes. So, I think we had some things that we had to overcome, especially being military and going to different places. We had our concerns about just, letting them go, certain places. But, now, we're like, listen, they're older now. We just have to take the training wheels off, just let it go. So, you be the judge. You make the best judgment. But you do have to start doing that earlier, sooner than later. Definitely not when they're 21. That's too late. Now you might have a lazy one on your hand that you got to micromanage everything and because it's set in at this point. So, but make sure. So, getting back to the subject at hand, building, that retirement for your future comes with a lot of different things that you have to think about. But the main thing is sit down and make that decision. Think about like what you want that to look like. Decide what vehicle you want to use, because you can always do like an IRA account. But the reason why I said for a business owner, you have other options. Like I mentioned that solo 401k. I mentioned that because, an IRA has contribution limits, significant contribution limits. If you just start an IRA and say you max that out, the most you can put in that is like $7,000 a year. Yeah. That's it. $7,000. Do you know how long it would take you to reach an adequate retirement with a $7,000 yearly cap? That's not enough. You need something where you can be able to stuff as much money into as possible. And this is only one avenue that we're mentioning. We mentioned two. One, your business, building it up where it can be able to pay you the money you want for the rest of your life. And then two is also putting money aside. Because if you do both, if you build a business up that is lucrative enough where it can pay you a compensation for the rest of your life, then that's one stream of income. Then if you put money into a retirement account over the years, that's a second stream of income. So now this is how you begin to start setting yourself up so that you can have that security. And then if you have that third account, which we say like an emergency fund account, but don't put it in the savings, put it like some type of mutual fund account. If you do that, then when things come up, then you can be able to use that account versus interrupting your retirement plan.
Yep, and that compound interest.
Yeah, and that compound interest, that's important. You don't want to interrupt that at all. So I think that's all that, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to share.
No, I think we said a lot today. And again, like we always say, if you, listen to what we said, again, go back and replay it, share it with your friends, listen to it, learn it, and apply it.
Mm-hmm. He's gonna always tell you that because he wants you to remember that, because he really cares. We both care. Yeah. We really want to see you winning.
Yep. And if you don't have a financial advisor, I know a good one.
Oh yeah, I do too. But no, go visit. But in seriousness, go visit our website. Check it out at quickandeasytaxes.com. Check us out. Like I said, click on that retirement tab if you don't have a plan. Our team would love to help you. You can just click and schedule yourself a free consultation so you can have that conversation and make sure that you are securing your future and that you're not a part of the statistics, which I didn't share that, but that's a real statistic that says 1 out of 5. So every 1 out of 5 American is prepared for retirement. Only 1 out of 5. And so that means there's a lot of people that out there that's not ready. And don't let that be the case of you. So until next time, like I said, if you like this video, if you like what we're talking about, please click the like, click the subscribe, and also hit the notification bell so you can be able to be notified when we upload some more fantastic videos just like this. So till next time, thank you for joining us for Build a Better Business with the Floyds. Bye.
I will be, yeah. I was born to be magnificent, everyday great, far above average, maverick, no magic, his faith and works, his blessings is the perks.